Trick or treat!
Now fuck off! I don't have any candy! I'm kidding. Bless, I have candy. Take some, you little fatties.
May I use your telegraph?
No, because I don't know one. Get the fuck out. Bye!
Bye, demon children.
Literally, though.
No, we're not trick-or-treaters at the door. We're just Kirsten and Jeremy. Ready to record an episode. We should have started this sooner because
it's really hitting you.
Katie just hit me full force.
I'm still good. It hasn't hit me. Oh my god, I love that we're eating candy in the trick-or-treat episode. What?
Didn't even think of that. You are listening to Rent Free in My Head, the podcast where we take the thoughts squatting in our brains and set them up with residence in yours, free of charge. Each week, Kirsten tricks me into hearing a true crime tale.
And Jeremy pretends to treat me by telling me a mystery. But in my opinion, it's not really a treat because there's no resolution and that irritates me.
Well, this week, we have a theme.
Is it Halloween?
You don't know what my... Yes, but very specifically, trick or treat.
Oh.
I say this because I obviously already know what your case is.
Yes, because you recommended
I suggested it to you, like, months ago.
I think it was like 3 months ago.
So I just made sure that I picked a case that was of a similar theme and matched.
Ooh, well then, you surely are in for a treat today, guys, because Jeremy's really smart, and I'm just here because apparently Jeremy thinks I'm funny. He's making a face, which is, like, rude.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would. You know what's funny? Is, like, literally the beginning of mine is... Obviously, it's Halloween, so we had to cover something that happened on Halloween, and had a bit of a twist, because it's fucking true crime, babes. I'm not going to do some, like, happy-dappy story of Halloween being beautiful. And then the next sentence is, shout out to Jer Bear for suggesting this case. So...
Oh, look at that. Preemptively gave myself the credit, but I'll take some more credit too.
Very on brand.
Anyway, we've already started drinking. We've also eaten some fun candy. Because we did start this phone call about an hour ago to start recording, but we've actually spent most of that time, more or less, we've spent most of that time talking about the Taylor Swift album that just dropped on Friday. But that's fine. I mean, to be fair, there is like some
bangers,
lyrical genius throughout that album. Like, I mean, Sexy Babies. Who would have ever
you know
thought
what's actually, you know what's funny together? Though? You know what's funny? Is that it's like the one line that gives me the ick. Like, I'll be like singing along about it, and then that part comes on and I'm just kind of like, no.
Literally every time I forget about it and then I hear her again say,
I
feel like everyone's a sexy
baby.
I feel like everyone's a sexy baby, and I'm like,
I feel like there could have been, like, she could have said sexy lady or, like, sexy human. Fuck me, that would have sounded better. Why is it every time you want to fucking plug in a USB, you fucking try it 10 fucking ways? It has 2 ways to go in, and yet I can never get it. But watch me stand up and look, and I'll get it straight a fucking way. Yep. For fuck's sake. Actual, I swear to fucking God, I think that fucking USB sticks are like Satan's little punishment to people. Because he's like, fuck you all. You're all shitty as fuck humans. I'm just going to make life difficult for you. And that is my theory. It's my hot take for the week. Anyway, so you know how, I don't know if you had it when you were younger, but I had it when I was younger. I would try and convince my mum to let me go trick-or-treating, and she'd be like, it's dangerous, blah, 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 blah. You know, so what, you can't trust some people because, you know, that someone could have poisoned the candy, they could have drugged the candy. And then I feel like maybe at some point there was a drugging through by a candy in Australia. Really didn't think to look that up until this very fucking second.
I didn't have that, but that is because I grew up in a household where my mother absolutely detested the concept of Halloween being celebrated in Australia because it's an American thing, which
I love him.
Let's just say when we get to my fun facts, I'm going to shoot that theory down.
Hasn't been, like, Halloween been in, like, since, like, the 1700s or some shit?
Longer than that.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well, that was a thing for me, and also I would always hear, like, people would bitch about it at work. Like, I remember when we first started selling Halloween stuff, and people were like, oh, Halloween's so stupid, you know, it's an American holiday, but also, like, it's so dangerous. And I'm like, is it though? Like, what? Your face is like, yes, bitch.
We're constantly telling our children, don't talk to strangers, and don't take food from people you don't know.
Okay, but Halloween is
this
different.
One day of the year, go and knock on every stranger's door and take candy from them.
Seems plausible.
Like,
you know what? I don't care.
I am all for Halloween itself. I love the spoopy vibes. I love,
like, trick-or-treating.
I just have opinions on trick-or-treating, but I have opinions on most things, as we've learned. A few weeks ago, I had a hot take on straws, so...
Look, as someone who's had the privilege of going trick-or-treating, it was a lot of fun. Oh my god, I can feel my whole eyeball. It was a lot of fun, and it was kind of cool connecting a bit with your community. Like, obviously, it didn't really, like, super connect us, but it was, like, kind of interesting to see some of your neighbours. And you only do, like, a small block. You generally try and find a neighbourhood that you kind of know people. I actually trick-or-treated the fire station once. So, do you want to know part of the reason, possibly the main reason, that this motherfucking rumour and superstition started? Because too bad I'm going to fucking tell you. And
well, I already know it anyway, but
you know
yes,
what, Jeremy?
I'm excited
No one else
to hear
does.
your rendition of it.
It is all started with one shitty ass motherfucker. So, we meet. I'm kidding. Not really, though. So, all the way back in 1944, on the 19th of October, which is funny because one of my friends, his birthday is the 19th of October. This guy's a massive piece of shit. And I'm like, oh! Anyway, so he was born on the 19th of October 1944, and at the time of the case, which takes place in 1974, he was 30.
Okay.
And his name was Ronald Clark O'Brien. So O'Brien appeared to have, like, a pretty, like, good life. Like, he was married, he had to a lady named... I even thought about how to say this word, but now I'm looking at it and all I can do is it phonetically, and my brain can't do it normal.
Spell it.
Daynene. My brain wants to say Denene. Deneen. Deneen? I think it's Deneen. I have really weird spelling of Deneen. Denene. Daynene. It's Daynene. This bitch is probably dead by now, so I feel like I can make fun of her name.
I'm just looking up pronunciation. Though Google was like, do you mean day 9?
Awkward. I mean, to be fair, like, it's practically that word.
I don't know that.
Maybe their name is Deneen.
I'm not answering a number that's calling me at 7:12 p.m. That if I don't know it. No.
Scary.
Maybe it's the Black-Eyed Kids. Maybe they don't knock on doors anymore. They heard us talking about them. Shit. I'm gonna say let's just go with Deneen. It'll do.
So her name is wife named my fucking god. Wife named Deneen, and he had 2 kids, Timothy and Elizabeth. So Timothy was born in 1966 and Elizabeth was born in 1969. It didn't tell me how long him and Deneen had been married, but I would assume it would be like 1968. Or like before his fucking kids were born. No, that doesn't make 1965. Oh my god, that's when my dad was born.
Well, wouldn't they be married before the kids were born?
Yes, and Timothy was born in 1966. So 65 maybe is when they would have gotten married. Alright, let's continue. So,
as you were.
Alright, so wife, 2 kids, Timothy and Elizabeth. Timothy was the older boy. Elizabeth was younger. Let me just math for a hot second and then regret it later. This happened in 74. He was born in 66. That's 8 years. Okay, so Timothy was 8 years old, and Elizabeth, was 5 years old. I was trying to keep my notes short. And they seem to live in a nice neighborhood. I have no idea if it's nice or not. I called it nice because from some of the articles I read, it seemed like it was.
Okay.
Of Deer Park, Texas, obviously in America, because I don't think there's a deer park in Texas, Australia.
Where is Texas, Australia?
It's near the border between New South Wales and Queensland.
Oh, cute.
I love that you didn't know that. Look at me teaching you things. Anyway, they lived in a middle-class neighborhood, by the way. Deer Park is middle-class, so that also points you to the life they were leading. So O'Brien worked as an optician, which is basically a fucking optometrist, but every single article referred to it as an optician.
What's the difference?
I didn't actually Google, to be honest with you. But the description I read, I'll Google it now. The description I read for
opticians are technicians trained to design, verify, and fit eyeglass lenses and frames, contact lenses, and other devices to carry eyesight.
Is that not what optometrist does?
No, the optometrist examines, diagnoses, and treats your eyes. The optician fits the glasses.
You know what's funny? Is I fucking need glasses. I have met these fuckers in real life. I can't even get their jobs right.
So they're not eye doctors and they can't give eye exams. They are technicians. They fit eyeglasses. They design.
Okay, it's not
stuff,
super
but that's
important to the story.
Okay,
but there you go. That's my bad. Thank you for teaching me something.
You're welcome.
So he was an optician.
Now the power balance is back where it should be.
As well as doing this, he was also a. Is that an A or an O? Fuck me. Okay, it really changes the word based on which one it is. Give me a second. Can't read own writing. Oh, okay.
One of my exes was like that, though. He could not read his own handwriting.
I usually can. I think it's just because
Oh, no, he never could. He would write stuff down. Like, he would write a shopping list and then we'd be walking through Coles and he'd just shove it in my face and be like, what does that say? And I'm like, I don't know. If you can't read it, how can I? You wrote it.
Oh, it's okay. It's an O. Alright, cool. So. He was also a deacon. A deacon. Which I googled what the fuck that was. Yeah, that probably makes more sense.
D-E-A-C-O-N?
No, D-E-C-O-N. So you just said. Right?
No, I said D-E-A-C-O-N. What's a decon?
Oh, I'm about to fucking tell you what it is you knew. That's literally my next sentence. You just couldn't let me get it out. Okay, so a deacon is basically a little like dude that helps at the church and like helps out with the charity events planning and. Like,
that's a deacon.
Alright, so fuck me. Every single article I saw spelled it as D-E-C-O-N.
I don't know. Because the definition of deacon is coming up different, but not. Like, it's also a member of the church assisting in things, but it's sounding... Oh, well, yeah, he would have had an official title if he was a deacon. I don't know.
It just said that he was a deacon for the Second Baptist Church of Texas.
He was a church boy.
Yeah, basically.
We'll go with that. Okay.
I mean, well, he was also in the church choir, and he ran the church's bus program. So I feel like old people or something. I don't know. I didn't really care much about this human. He was described by neighbors as being extremely protective towards his family and just kind of, seeming like a chill as fuck guy. One pastor even described O'Brien as a good Christian man and an above-average father. While he apparently was winning at church life, though, not so much in his job life. Work life. So O'Brien struggled to hold a job, and he... my brain's not working, sorry. He was employed by 21 companies over a 10-year span.
That is
so the entirety that you and I have had
on a resume.
Job. Exactly, and apparently the reason he kept being fired was because of negligence or fraudulent behavior.
But also, like, that resume would be, like, 4 pages thick just for the work experience.
Yeah, it's funny.
Previous work.
Is right around when this case happens, he was about to be fired from his employer, Texas State Optical, because they suspected him of stealing money.
Who keeps hiring this person?
I don't know. And I checked about his salary, and it was $150 per week, and this was in 1974, which, when I did the inflation calculator, came out to be $611.30. So, kind of like a standard income, really.
Yeah.
For at least a casual employee. So, not only was he a utterly shit-heap, employee, apparently he really struggled with that $150 to cover food and, house expenses and, I don't know, human expenses.
Was he was he the sole income for this family of 4?
As far as I think so, because I really could not find much information on Deneen.
Yeah.
So I don't know too
I
much
can
about
get
her.
that. I'm struggling as the sole income for a family of 1.
No, same. I'm not shitting on him. I'm just also, remember I said he was middle class. So I think that they were in, a nicer neighborhood rather than living more towards their means, which would have been a slightly less nice neighborhood. But also, it was the 70s, so, I think we were still in that time period of women being expected to stay at home with the children.
True. Yeah,
especially
true.
considering they had, a 10 and... What did I say? 10 and...
Wasn't it 8 and 5?
7? Oh yeah, fuck yeah, 8 and 5. Sorry, I don't know why I'm going 10 and 7. So, 8 and 5-year-old. So apparently it was later found out that he had more than $100,000 in debt, and he was on the verge of having his car repossessed. Ooh. Which, again, would not have been a good move if you're already struggling with money, because it's just going to lead it further down. Because no car, no way to get to work.
Yeah.
Also because
especially
of that
if you have to go 2 towns over because they're not going to hire you in the town where you've had 21 jobs.
I would not hire this fucker. But anyway, so I'm also going off the assumption that his wife didn't realize how bad the money problems were, or she just frankly didn't know about them at all. Neither would surprise me. It was the 70s. So, O'Brien came up with a genius, and I'm putting that in air quotation marks because I think it's fucking stupid, plan to solve all of his life's problems. Okay, and then this is where it gets a little bit gross. So, on October 31st, 1974, O'Brien took his 2 children along with his neighbour Jim Bates and Jim's 2 small humans trick-or-treating. Apparently, one article did say that O'Brien had never really showed an interest in Halloween before, and then on this night he did. So, it seems
That's not sus at all.
No. Seems like it was a pretty good evening. Most houses seemed to be participating. There was one house, though, apparently, that didn't answer, and they assumed no one was home, so that they left. So that's Jim and the 4 kids left, whereas O'Brien kind of stayed back for a bit and held back before catching up with them.
Mm-hmm.
When he caught up to them minutes later, he was like, oh, the people ended up being home. They opened up the door and they were handing out expensive treats. And he held up 5 pixie sticks, which I Googled. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, we
It's like the giant
kind
straw
of
with the
we
the
kind of
sherbet in
have
it.
them here, but what we call pixie sticks here are like the teeny tiny little ones.
So there's two different kinds. Pixie Sticks does come in a little one and then the jumbo one. For the
Okay,
point of
yeah.
this story, he brought back 5
It's-
jumbo ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen those before as well, but here you usually only really find them at like a novelty candy store. Like if you go,
Yeah.
I've seen them at Dreamworld and
Yeah, but like
places like
the
that.
the China shop, like or what was my high school corner shop called? Oh well, moving on. So Pixie Sticks actually, fun facts, became popular in the 50s. So this was just like 20 years after their production.
Okay.
I couldn't find out how much they were, but I did read a thing where they would be like $1 or something like that, $2. So
Compared to all of the other like smaller candy options to hand out, they would be quite dear and
expensive.
pricey, yeah.
So I think that's what he meant. So obviously the night kind of ended a little bit after that. Jim took his 2 kids home, and Brian obviously took his kids home. He handed out the 5 pixie sticks. So he gave 2 to his children, 2 to Jim's children, and 1 to a child which had trick-or-treated at his house. So once they had been home, O'Brien told his children that they could have 1 piece of candy each before they went to bed. Little Timothy had decided on the pixie sticks stick. Apparently, while he was eating it, he complained to his dad that it had a bit of a bitter taste to it, and O'Brien gave him some Kool-Aid to help wash it down.
Okay. I mean, it's sherbet. It's not the sweetest flavor.
No. So after that, O'Brien puts Timothy to bed, and he is quoted as saying, 30 seconds after leaving Timothy's room, I heard him cry, "Daddy, Daddy, my stomach hurts." He later was in the bathroom. This is still a continuation of a different quote. He was in the bathroom convulsing, vomiting, and gasping, and then he suddenly went limp. Timothy died en route to the hospital less than an hour after eating the candy.
Shit.
So, the medical examiner, when he went down for an autopsy, actually remembers...
But also, he gave them a piece of candy and put them to bed within an hour of that and let the kid choose the giant thing of pure sugar with nothing else.
It's almost as if he had ulterior motives.
I mean, I know that technically
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like,
you might as well have given your child a line of cocaine.
Literally, Anyway, so, when his body was brought to the medical examiner to do an autopsy, the medical examiner recalled that the body smelt of almonds.
What smells like almonds, Kirsten?
That's a word I almost just fucking said. Cyanide. I hate myself.
But what do almonds smell like?
I don't know. I don't want to buy almonds just to smell them. And I think it'd be really weird if I went to like the nut section of Coles and just shoved my fucking head in the jar.
You have smelled them.
Oh. What do they smell like? They smell like cyanide. But, like, what does that actually smell like?
I don't know, but someone at work offered you some once and you just walked up and sniffed the bag. And then they were like, okay, thank you. And they were like, do you not want one? And you're like, no, I just wanted to know what cyanide smelled like. And then walked away.
Well, I got my answer to my question. But yeah, you know... An autopsy obviously confirms that Timothy had consumed... This part's not obvious. It's just that it was cyanide poisoning was his cause of death. I'm so sorry for laughing at this, but, okay. So Timothy had consumed enough cyanide to kill 2 to 3 grown men. I remember this is the 70s where they thought men were top shit, so that grown men comment is probably meaning, like, a really, like, large man.
No, but I'm also just trying to remember what year Chicago Tylenol was. Was that the
Oh,
70s
yeah.
or the 90s?
I thought that was
Because
the
I
90s.
remember that the amount of was 82. So not long after that. Actually the same year that my case this week takes place.
Secretly, he's doing this.
But I'm redoing Tylenol murders. But that also was like an excessive amount. So what I'm gathering is that it only takes like the smallest amount of pure cyanide, because obviously like you need to eat 200 cherry seeds to die from cyanide poisoning from that. I actually I had the amount of cyanide that someone has to ingest. Let me just find that. Oh, apparently I've looked at these notes recently. They're right at top.
Oh.
Why did I look at these notes recently? Cyanide. A person weighing 150 pounds or 68 kilos can safely consume 703 milligrams of hydrogen cyanide.
So 704 milligrams will kill you.
Basically. Which, if you think about it, isn't that much.
Times that by 3, and that's how much Timothy had in his system. An 8-year-old boy.
Shit.
So, obviously everyone immediately assumed it was the fucking pixie sticks, because that was the last thing that Timothy ate. The police luckily were able to retrieve the other 4 bits of candies uneaten. And then obviously the investigation began. So it was determined that the top 2 inches of each pixie stick...
How did they track down the random child that...
I think it was a neighborhood kid, like just like a kid in the neighborhood. That's
okay, so it was like a kid that he knew that he was going to be able to like...
Oh, yeah, shit, no, it was sorry, I forgot to write it down, I read it in 2 different articles. It was a kid from his church.
Okay.
My bad.
So they were able to... It wasn't just like a rando that they've given it to.
No, sorry.
I was like,
it was,
how the fuck are you going to recover that?
Sorry. It was a kid he knew from the church. Like, it was a neighborhood kid. Like, someone who was known to him. It wasn't just a fucking stranger. So, yeah. Luckily, they did get them back. And then, yeah. So, the top 2 inches of each of the pixie sticks had been replaced with granules of cyanide. So... The investigation begins. The police get Jim and O'Brien to retrace their steps of the night, because obviously they're adults, they're probably a bit more... have a bit of wherewithal.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of started to fall apart, because O'Brien kept giving conflicting accounts as to which house gave the pixie sticks and how it happened. So I think at one point he tried to say that even with the kids there... an arm had just, like, put out their arm with the pixie sticks in them, and then they had taken them. Another thing said that he was like, oh, it was that house over there, and he, like, opened up the door, and it was this person, and so, like, he couldn't give a straight answer. He couldn't point a specific house out, and just kind of kept contradicting himself.
Not
as to which
sus
house
at
it was.
all.
Yeah. So then the police were like, you're shady as fuck. So then they started looking to O'Brien. And that's when they found out about his shitty finances and the fact that he had recently taken out multiple life insurances on his 2 children. In a search of O'Brien's house, they found a piece of an adding machine, which is one of those things. It's like a calculator with a printer.
Ah, yeah. The old school ones where you, like, type in a number, press enter, and it prints.
Yeah,
like
one of those things.
They're kind of fun to use.
I know, right? They're so cool. He had one of those, and on it he had added up each one of his bills, and then the total of all of his bills just so happened to almost be the exact amount that he would receive in life insurance.
What? What a crazy coincidence.
Yeah. So, apparently there were reports as well that O'Brien had inquired with several chemical companies on where he could buy cyanide and apparently jokingly asked how much it would take to kill someone.
704 milligrams is exceeding the safe consumption level, so as long as it's more than that. There you go. Weird question to ask, though.
Really, though. It is also...
How much can I not eat? Or how much should I avoid eating? Like,
I just don't know why the companies were instantly like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're trying to kill someone.
But also, what benefits does cyanide is in a lot of things. It's like how the colour blue was made with paint. But what purpose does it have outside of, like, poison?
Either way, it is worth noting that also in the search, they found a pocket knife with candy remnants on it. So.
Don't often open my candy with a pocket knife, so...
Yep, neither do I. Then, obviously, the police were like, alright, motherfucker, you for sure fucking did it. So just... Oh my god, I'm so dumb. 4 days later, on November 5th, technically it's 4 or 5 days, 1974, O'Brien was arrested for Timothy's murder. So he was immediately, like, they weren't like, I'm just going to take you in for questioning. They just flat out fucking arrested him.
Fair. There's some pretty strong evidence against him.
I know, right? So dumb. O'Brien would deny it all, continuing to play the grieving father role and saying that he would never do this. This is horrible. He misses Timothy so much, blah, 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 blah. Again, really disappointingly, I couldn't find much about Deneen's reaction to it and if she kept Elizabeth away from him, which I mean, like, I probably would because he just tried to kill her, but...
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm sure the church was super pleased about it too.
In my world, Bestie Deneen and little Elizabeth packed up, moved into a different city where they met another woman similar to them working a waitress job. They became friend soulmates and lived out their lives happily ever after. And the bestie soulmate became an auntie to Elizabeth, and anytime anyone tried to find them, Bestie would get them out.
Okay, it's been a while since we've had some queer fan fiction from you, so
anyway, so
I was a bit taken aback by that.
I did see. So obviously he fucking denied this all because he's like, Mummy, I'm so depressed my son is dead. And the police were like,
But also, where's my life insurance payout?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So then obviously he went to trial, and after only... No, I read that wrong. Obviously went to trial, and the trial came to an end on June 3rd, 1975, and after less than an hour deliberation, he was convicted of murder. And why have I written STD? What the fuck does that mean, Kirsten? STD. What the fuck?
Standard?
No, I
What's
think
the context?
It's less than an hour deliberation, convicted of murder plus STD.
Are you sure it's not meant to be first degree?
He also failed a polygraph. I forgot to write that before he was arrested. Oh. Fuck, I'm dumb. Okay, I know what it means now.
Okay.
So he was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. I'm not laughing because of the topic. I'm laughing at how...
setting off fireworks.
What?
I swear I just heard some fireworks. Or some gunshots. I don't know. Because there's nothing more. It was just like... Bang, bang, bang.
Could be one of like those cap guns.
Maybe.
So apparently he would continuously try to appeal this decision, and he would keep saying, I didn't do it, it wasn't me. Never once.
Wait, what did the
admitted to
STD
it.
stand for?
Sentenced to death.
Oh!
It's
didn't
convicted
pick up
of
on that.
murder and sentenced to death. STD, sentenced to death. I'm fucking dumb. So, he continuously appealed to have the decision and even went up to the Supreme Court twice. Sorry. I just blanked out for a second and thought I'd written information wrong. I hadn't.
Okay.
I just confused myself a little bit. So yeah, all appeals were denied. And O'Brien was scheduled and carried out his execution on the 31st of March 1984. Apparently his last words were along the lines of, those who have had a part in my... There we go. I'm going to read it out better. Read it out directly because it's better. That's also what I was planning for.
Good idea.
So he stated, what is about to transpire in a few moments is wrong. I would forgive all who have taken part in any way in my death.
What?
Yeah. So, even in the end of it...
I'm not peeing, I'm pouring wine.
Even in the end of it, he just straight up was like, it wasn't me, I didn't kill them, blah, 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 blah. Continuously denied it. Obviously, everyone just thinks he's, like, fucking stupid and was trying to get away with it in his last-ditch attempts. There's also been a lot of theories and stuff about why he did it. The obvious one being that he killed his children for their life insurance money to get himself out of debt. And he tried to kill his 2 neighbors' children and a random kid so that it wouldn't draw suspicion onto him if 5 children were poisoned.
That makes sense. However, it wouldn't make a huge amount of sense if it was only those 5 children out of the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, I thought of that as well,
and,
but
like,
I think
4
maybe...
of them are closely... 4 of them are between 2 families.
I thought that as well.
Would make more sense if it was, like, 5 random neighbors, like with the whole Tylenol murders, where it was, like, oh god, however many people it was, scattered across, like, none of them, most of them not connected.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think it was more about how much cyanide he could buy. Possibly. Like, that's the theory I have.
Oh, yeah.
And he's apparently stupid and used way too much.
And the number of children that he could actually get them to without it being linked to him.
Also, he would have to buy that many pixie sticks. And remember, this fucker has, like, no money.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think he did it, obviously. And I think everyone else does as well. This fucker was just delusional in saying that he wouldn't. But, the Harris District Assistant Director...
What?
Assistant... Oh my god, I just had it.
ADA? Are you trying to say ADA?
Thank you. Assistant District Attorney. There we go. Assistant District Attorney of Harris County in Texas, Mike Hinton, in 2004, can be quoted as saying, O'Brien is the man that ruined Halloween for the whole world. Which seems like a little excessive because I'm pretty sure America are like the only ones that make like a massive deal out of it. The rest of us just kind of like chill with it. We're like, yo, candy? Okay. Or lilies, I should say.
I just love the spooky vibes. I like having the cute little tradition that has been started of the annual spooky sleepover party or slumber party, and just dressing up, getting drunk, and watching bad horror movies. That aesthetic of Halloween I vibe with. Can't get behind the whole orange fall thing because, well, it's spring for us, so it's not the right
I was about to be like,
weather
it's summer,
aesthetics.
Jeremy, and then I was like, no, it just fucking feels like summer. It's basically summer.
Especially after all the wet weather we've had recently.
It was so fucking hot today.
I get behind it to a degree here. I do like to deck my place out in, like, the spider webs and
Yeah.
put on a spooky costume and watch horror movies with my friends, but I don't vibe with the whole trick-or-treating thing. Possibly because of this guy, though. Who knows?
It probably is, because you know what? Fucking Mike Hinton said it in 2004. That this man ruined Halloween for the whole world.
And he decreed it, so it must be so.
Yeah, exactly. And that concludes my case out of the fluffy koala.
To be fair, though, I'm pretty sure that America thinks that they're the whole world.
Oh, fucking literally, though.
Okay, I'm opening the photo that you sent me. Ah, that face has come up in some of my research. It wasn't what I was looking for, so I kept scrolling past.
Well, that's him. And this is probably gonna sound really mean, but he looks like a piece of shit. So.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It also
Murdered his own child and was willing to murder someone else's children in the process, so...
Yeah.
Hell, by the sounds of it, he was prepared to off both of his children as well as his friend's children and another child known to him.
Well, bitch don't give a fuck. But yeah, that's good old Ronald Clark O'Brien. Pays his peak of
O'Brien.
So glad you did that, because it's all that's been popping through my head the last,
Every single time you have said O'Brien.
I think when I first started, I had to, I read his name, and I was like, Ronald Clark O'Brien. O'Brien.
I'm just picturing the two goldfish just floating and the crack appearing down the side. It's literally embedded in my brain. Like, you can tell marketing has worked. You are. You can tell that an advertising campaign has worked when over a decade later, it is still so deeply embedded but also in everyone's memories.
Fucking RSCQ ad. Chatterbait? What chatterbait?
Yes, I was just about to say that, same as the I just want milk that tastes like real milk.
Yeah. Or the Marge, the rain's here.
Yeah. No one can forget all of the Rhonda ads for RACQ either.
Oh, literally.
Like, iconic. We've completely lost the non-Australian audience, which I'm pretty sure the majority of our 5 listeners are not from Australia, so sorry, guys. So, as we know, I was initially planning to use Black-Eyed Kids as my topic for our Halloween episode, but I already went ahead and used that a few weeks ago. That was episode 23, like ketchup into an apple, if you are interested. It's not cursed at all. Definitely not.
No, not at all.
Anyway, back to the drawing board it was, and initially I did consider doing something of a similar vibe, kind of, telling you about another urban legend, specifically Bloody Mary, and dramatically reading some first-hand reports of people's encounters, like I did with the BEK. And I did look into, and I found some. They were interesting, they just also didn't quite hold up in comparison to BEK. Like, I felt like it's not the kind of energy I wanted for Halloween. I will, however, put that in the maybe pile for another day. Just if anyone, including yourself, Kirsten, is interested, if that's something that you do want me to cover at some point, I can.
For sure, though. I think it would be really interesting.
Well, I actually found some other urban legends in my searching that I would love to look further into and cover at some point. Initially when we started this, I didn't want to really go down the path of urban legends or cryptids. I just didn't know if that was the kind of path I wanted to go down. But now I'm stumbling across stuff a lot that's really interesting, and I'm like, I want to look further into this. And I guess it kind of fits under the branch of the unknown. So maybe watch this space. I might cover them at some point.
Hmm.
Listen to this space, I guess. It's an audio platform. So listen to this space. You get the idea. You know. I might cover urban legends. We'll see. There's some interesting ones out there. Anyway, enough about what I didn't do and what I may do.
I was like,
Let's
are we going to get to what you actually did do, Sweet Pea, or?
Let's talk about what I did do. So, while looking into Halloween just in general, for my fun facts, I actually stumbled upon a couple of unsolved murders that have happened on Halloween. They piqued my interest, and seeing as I have been on quite a kick of unexplained phenomenon / weird events, and also, like, missing persons for a while, I thought that might be an interesting path to go down. I initially went to, like, when I was thinking this through, I'm like, well, yeah, I don't think I've actually covered an unsolved murder. I've only done, like, missing persons and weird things that have happened. And then I've gone back and I've looked at our episodes and I'm like, Il Mostro di Firenze, unsolved serial killer. Hinterkaifeck, unsolved mass murder. Chicago Tylenol murders, unsolved mass murder. I'm like, oh, I've covered a few. Okay, but it's been a while.
It has.
The last one
I feel like
was
you've
family
done a lot
murders.
of, like, yeah, I don't think it feels like you haven't done a murder for a while.
Yeah. I already knew what you were doing this week, again, seeing as it was my suggestion, and I made a point of finding one to pair well with the theme of yours. Trick-or-treating turned terminal.
That's cute. I like what you did there.
Seeing as I couldn't make trick-or-treaters terrifying with tales of black-eyed kids at your door, I thought I'd make it terrifying another way.
Yay!
I told you I had a treat for you earlier. That might have been a trick.
No, you're a turd.
But first, fun facts. This week's theme?
Halloween!
Now, I won't lie, I found a lot of interesting stuff that I do want to talk about at some point, probably off-air, just between you and I. I did choose to only go with 2 fun facts this week. I might throw in a special third if I really feel like it, simply because they are both kind of really chunky, and I have a fair bit to get through today. So, looking into it, I saw a couple different origins of what is now what we know as Halloween. And from what I could gather, it's kind of an amalgamation of a few different practices and events of days past that I'm just going to do like a little shallow dive into here. So the most common origin story that I came across was that it stemmed from a Celtic festival from over 2,000 years ago.
Damn.
A festival called Samhain, which I had to make a note in my notes of how to pronounce it because it's pronounced Samhain, but it's spelled Samhain.
What?
But yes, it stemmed from a Celtic festival from over 2,000 years ago, which is why when you were like, oh yeah, it dates back to the 1700s, I'm like, yeah, sure.
I meant in Australia, specifically.
In Australia, it probably only dates back to like 1980. It's not a practice. Like, it's only become a thing here in our generation.
True.
Anyway, Samhain means summer's end. So this was a feast held on the 1st of November, and it was to celebrate the last day of the fall harvest. But it was also reportedly the day that they believed the veil between the living and spirit worlds was thinnest. And, like, the crossing over between the two. So, you know, the dead coming into our world.
Yeah.
So, people would ward ghosts off with sacrificial bonfires. And this, from what I read, this was kind of across Ireland, Scotland, the UK, and northern France. Like, that little region that's all
Yeah.
kind of right there. Yeah, they would ward ghosts off with sacrificial bonfires and also wear costumes to trick the ghosts.
Into not
So
taking them.
Yeah, or into just like trick them in general. They wouldn't know who they were, what they were. So this could be the origin of, trick-or-treating, dressing up to go and get candy. But that could also be traced back to mumming or guising in Scotland and Ireland, which was a practice involving people disguising themselves and going door to door asking for food in exchange for like a song or a poem, like just something that they would perform for them. So it would be a treat for their trick.
Right.
It
makes sense, but like, ew, if someone rocked up at my fucking door and was like, do you want me to sing you a song for a loaf of bread? I would be like, get the fuck out of my face.
It could even be originating from the medieval custom of souling in Britain and in Ireland, which was poor people knocking on doors on November 1st specifically, asking for food in exchange for prayers for the dead. So on the day of Samhain, knocking on the door and being like, hi, any prayers for the dead? We will take them if you give us food. Yeah. So ultimately, what I gathered from all of this is that Halloween, which everyone likes to call a very American holiday, can greatly be traced back to originating in Ireland. I would say in the UK area in general.
Yeah.
But a lot of it seems to lead back to Ireland, including, on to fun fact number 2, the jack-o'-lantern, which originated in Ireland.
Love them.
It was originally reportedly carved out of potatoes, beets,
I was literally about
turnips.
to say it's going to be fucking potatoes because it's Ireland.
Yep. So people actually didn't begin to use pumpkins until the practice reached America and became popular. So that's where the jack-o'-lanterns that we know today came from. I, low-key, in future, maybe want to, carve them out of potatoes and beets. That could be cool.
That's cool. I would also do that. I have carved a pumpkin before. It's very messy, and it takes you a hot fucking second.
I can imagine.
Especially the one that I carved last year. It's fucking huge.
Yes, I've seen it. It's still in your freezer. You need to get it out.
It really is.
But why do we call them jack-o'-lanterns specifically?
Well, I assume the lantern parts because we put lights inside of it.
Well, that can be traced back to an Irish folklore. The legend of Stingy Jack, a man who tricked the devil twice.
Oh.
So,
Best you got skills.
yes. Legend has it that Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. But Jack didn't want to pay for the drink. So he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin. And he was going to pay for the drink with the coin. And then the devil would turn back into himself and bing bang boom, they just had some free beers, mate. I need a friend that can shapeshift. Thank you.
He's so handy.
Anyway, devil is a coin now, and instead of buying the drink or using the devil to pay for the drink, he pocketed the devil and kept him close, or the coin that is now the devil, or the devil that is now the coin that was the devil. There we go. Pocketed the coin and kept it close to a silver cross in his house, preventing the devil from taking shape again. So he's just like, haha, fuck you, devil man.
Why?
He promised to let the devil go as long as he would leave Jack alone for a year, and that if Jack died, the devil would not claim his soul. Devil was like, yeah, okay, whatever, I don't want to be a coin anymore, it's weird. Don't imagine that would be a fun life.
What do you mean? That sounds so fun.
After the year was up, Jack tricked the devil again to
How
leave him
fucking
alone.
dumb is this devil?
and to not claim his soul. So I'm wondering if it's like did he pull the same stunt or did he trick him a different way?
Same stunt.
Hey, devil, I know that last time I told you to turn into a coin to pay for the drinks, I didn't follow up on my part, but like, this time it's totally different. You can trust me.
That's exactly what happened.
I would never do that.
The devil was like, fuck me dead, you're gorgeous. Okay. I like living in your pocket. I like licking you.
Okay. Anyway, when Jack did die, God did not want such a cunning, conniving,
shitty
manipulative person in heaven. And you'll see where I got confused. In heaven and the devil. So those two words are like right there. So God didn't want him in heaven, and the devil was true to his word and would not allow him into hell. So Jack's like, hey, I know I told you that you couldn't claim my soul, but what if I, like, bring myself here? And the devil's like, nope, you said that I can't let you into hell. I can't let you into hell. It's like when someone declares they're going on a diet and they're like, you have to keep me accountable. Don't let me... Or they're trying to save money and they're like, keep me accountable. Don't let me spend money. And then they're like, so I want to buy this. And you have to talk them out of it. And they're like, why? And I'm like, you literally asked for this.
Literally.
So basically Jack was like, devil, I'm not allowed in hell. That's the rules. And the devil's like, okay, bestie, whatever. And then he gets rejected from heaven and he shows up and he's like, so I want to go to hell. And the devil's like,
stay.
no. The devil's like, Jack, no. And he's like, why? I need to go to hell. I don't have anywhere to go. And the devil's like, well, I'm not letting you in here. You're not allowed. Because you literally asked for this, bestie. I hate past me. That's how I picture that.
Me every day.
Conversation going down. He's not allowed in heaven. He's not allowed in hell. He was basically sent off into the night with only a burning coal to light his path, and he placed this coal inside a carved-out turnip and has been roaming the earth ever since. So Jack of the Lantern.
That's kind of cute. I vibe with that. It's nice. I like that. It's cute.
Yeah. I do kind of want to share the third fun fact with you simply because I feel like you should take notes from it. Hold up. Let me find it.
What's that supposed to mean? Take
You'll
notes.
see.
Oh my gosh. I'm intrigued.
Some Halloween rituals used to involve finding a husband.
Oh, how the fuck does this involve me? I don't want a husband.
Take notes, okay? Take notes. You can do these on Monday. During the 18th century, single ladies devised Halloween traditions that were supposed to help them find their romantic match. According to History.com, women used to throw apple peels over their shoulder, hoping to see their future husband's initials in the pattern when they landed. So you're going to throw them over your shoulder and my initials will take shape? When they bobbed for apples at parties, the winner would supposedly marry first. Yes, because she just displayed she had the best head game. Obviously marry that woman. Most spookily, they even used to stand in a dark room holding a candle in front of a mirror to look for their future husband's face to appear in the glass.
What the fuck?
When I started doing the notes for Bloody Mary, I did make that my first fun fact, because I'm like, well, that's fitting.
I could probably go do it now.
Another case that it's not a dark room, is it? But also, basically, the one that I read that explained it was that, you would hold a mirror and a candle, and at midnight, you would walk backwards down the stairs. And your future husband's face would appear in the mirror. Which, if you're walking backwards down the stairs holding a candle and a face appears in a mirror that isn't yours, you're
Fucking
flying down
run.
those stairs and dying.
Okay, so I'm not gonna bob for apples. That one I would trip. I'm fucking a massive klutz. I also only have like 3 steps where I live. The initial one though, do I have to do it on Halloween?
Yeah, it's on Halloween. You have to peel an apple and throw the peel over your
Alright,
shoulders.
so on Halloween I need to buy an apple, peel it, and whack it over
and
your
throw.
shoulder.
Yeah, and
Alright,
see
that one I
if
can
your
do.
initials.
That one I can do.
Okay.
We'll find out who my
Let us
future
know.
husband is.
So this week I am taking you back to October 31st, 1982, in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And while looking into this one, I was led to a newspaper page from the Sumter Daily Item dated November 1st, 1982. And it gave me a distinct flashback to the last time that I took a dive into old newspapers, and that was when I covered The Phantom Barber of Pascagoula back in episode 10, Kangaroos Don't Grow on Trees. Because this page included one single article on it, and then 3/4 of the page was assorted advertisements.
Oh my god.
Just to prove that I am not exaggerating to you.
Oh my god.
Like, 3/4 is probably is understating it.
Full fabric sale! All fabric first quality in full bolts. All fabric sale, regular $79.5. Lol. Heat that's safe for your family.
As you can see, amongst all of those giant advertisements taking up most of the page, there is this one tiny little article with a big headline exclaiming, "Real horrors plague Halloween." And I'm just going to go through it.
Like, it's that thing, and then the ads is literally an election ad, a heater ad, a ladies' fabric ad, and a fucking portrait ad for JCPenney. Also 86.
And they're all bigger than the article.
And then, like, teeny tiny writing.
So, and it's, it's Real Horrors Plague Halloween, but that doesn't need to be that
That's not the
big
important
for you to see it.
one.
No, it's important that you know about this fall fabric sale.
But yeah, that is the most important thing on there.
I'm going to go through this article with you. I'm kind of going to paraphrase in spots and just skip bits here and there, try and get through it as briefly as I can, for 2 reasons. Firstly, it fits the theme and will ruin trick-or-treating. And secondly, well, you'll see. For some South Carolinians...
South Carolina. I think it would be Carolina.
For some residents of South Carolina, Halloween wasn't a holiday of scary fun, but the real horror that human monsters create. Authorities in the Midlands, PD, and upstate said some children returning from trick-or-treat brought home candy and apples booby-trapped with pins, needles, or chemicals.
Or what?
The State Law Enforcement Division is expected to analyze today a piece of contaminated bubblegum found in Florence County, according to a spokesperson. Meanwhile, Columbia police are investigating an illicit grave digging over the Halloween weekend. A 5-week-old grave at Randolph Cemetery was entered Saturday night or Sunday morning, according to police commander. The tainted pack of bubblegum was purchased Saturday, according to Florence County Sheriff, and one piece had been unwrapped, forced apart, a foreign substance inserted into it, and then closed back up. He said the buyer took the gum to the sheriff's department when he found it had been tampered with. Why are we jumping from one story to another and then coming back to the other story at the end? That is a
I'm
recurring
not gonna
pattern
lie,
through
you
this.
lost me a little bit. I was like, okay, we're talking about this. And this is me, I'm like, okay, we're talking about this?
Yep. Moving on to Richland County. Sheriff reported that a needle buried in a candy bar injured a child Saturday night. He'll be all right, said Sheriff, who said no other incidents had been reported. Florence Police Lieutenant said pins were found Friday in packaged candy after the candy had been returned to the store by a buyer. In Spartanburg, authorities reported that an 8-year-old boy found a sewing needle in a candy bar Saturday. Another family said suckers collected while trick-or-treating smelled of gasoline.
Oh my god!
In the Spartanburg County town of Cowpens, a push pin was found in a peanut butter kiss. The Greenville County Sheriff's Department is peanut butter.
Yes, that's brilliant. Go team.
The Greenville County Sheriff's Department reported that a man found a pin Sunday inside a candy bar his son had collected Saturday, and that a pin was found inside an apple at another home. There were no arrests or injuries in any of the incidents in Spartanburg and Greenville counties. The only hospital in the state that offered to X-ray Halloween candy, Beverly Hospital in Hartsville, found nothing suspicious. In other parts of the country, more than 300 reports of apples and candy sabotaged with pins, needles, and razor blades were reported in 24 states. A trick-or-treat robber shot and killed an elderly Iowa man, and one woman swallowed a 1.5-inch needle. A 13-year-old boy...
Instant karma much?
Have you picked up on the, second reason that I wanted to read this article to you? We go straight from... In other parts of the country, more than 300 reports of apples and candy sabotaged with pins, needles, and razor blades were reported in 24 states. A trick-or-treat robber shot and killed an elderly Iowa man, and one woman swallowed a 1.5-inch needle. Just glazing straight over. Someone was murdered.
I thought you said that the guy who had murdered them ate the candy with the needle in it.
No.
That's why I said instant karma, because I was like, fuck that. But holy shit,
No.
It's just needle, 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 gunshot. Needle, needle, needle. Like, what the fuck?
It's literally just sandwiched in amongst all of these reports. And when I get a little bit further down, which I'm not going to go any further into this article because that's pretty much the majority. A 13-year-old boy was hospitalized in Columbus, Ohio for questionable hallucinations and inappropriate behavior Sunday night after eating candy. And 16 people were taken to hospitals in Summerdale, New Jersey after eating candy apparently laced with drugs at a kindergarten party. One 5-year-old girl remained hospitalized late Sunday. In Indianapolis, a woman bit into an apple and swallowed a 1.5-inch needle, but hospital officials decided not to operate. Dorcella Jones, 28, will probably just pass it normally. An emergency room nurse said
needle?
Sunday night. So, basically this whole article is all accounts of trick-or-treating gone way wrong, which is why I was like, there's probably still some fear regarding trick-or-treating after you were like, no, it's just because this one father did it. I'm like, oh, there's been reports of other stuff that aren't great.
No, I just mean I think a lot of people blamed him.
Oh, yeah, fair. But also just the fact that... So they just sandwiched an elderly man was shot and killed in between two other things. And then as you get a little bit further down, it does the thing where it just randomly jumps back to another story. And you get 2 sentences about the murder.
Oh.
And then it continues on.
Jesus.
I'm not going to read those 2 sentences because I'm about to tell you in an appropriate amount of detail what actually happened. Because at first I was like, why did one of the articles that I was reading link me to this newspaper page. It has nothing to do with it. It's literally just some other shit that happened that same Halloween.
Hmm.
And then I get to, like, that little thing and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? That's all I get?
I see now why you said that.
That's why I wanted to go through that article. I couldn't ruin trick-or-treating for you with the sense of, hey, there's demon kids at your door. But I could ruin it in, hey, maybe don't eat the stuff that you get from people. Not great. Also, maybe don't open your door. You might get shot and killed by a robber.
Okay,
Just
that
saying.
last one's probably, like, the most plausible in my neighborhood.
Apparently
there was someone running around this morning. Apparently there was someone running around this morning with a machete.
Would not surprise me.
Neither. Someone said it at work and I was like, sounds like home.
So you almost got murdered twice today, damn. Good job.
I know, right? I think the world's out to get me.
Now, it is worth noting, I got 2 different dates from my sources. Some said that it was the 30th, and others said it was the 31st. I did find it in a list of murders that occurred on Halloween, which is the 31st, and the newspaper article that I just read from said Sunday night in it. Yeah, a 69-year-old Iowa man was killed after answering his door Sunday night. But then others were like... And when I checked the calendar, October 31st of 1982 was a Sunday, so that would track.
Yeah.
Why does it show me the images that I sent you if I haven't opened them to look at them? Really annoys me. After a while, Skype is just like, hey, this image hasn't been opened yet. I'm like, I know, because I sent it.
No, I know. It did it to me before.
It's so annoying. But then, yeah, other sources said that it was the Saturday night. I think this may have been a case of it happened on the Saturday night, but he passed away on the Sunday morning. So he technically died on the Sunday. Either way, it's a trick-or-treat murder. Yeah, or that's where I'm confused, because it's a trick-or-treat murder, and if I'm not mistaken, trick-or-treating occurs on the 31st specifically. Because, I even Googled, when do you trick-or-treat, and everything came back 31st of October, and then I did see, like, a campaign that started in 2018 to move Halloween, or at least Trick-or-Treat Day, they wanted to call it, to the last Saturday of October, so that it always was on a Saturday. Which I'm like...
That's weird.
No. That's dumb.
That's dumb.
So...
Everyone goes trick-or-treating at, like, 5 o'clock in the afternoon anyway, so, like...
Yeah. So, I think it actually happened on the 30th, but my initial, like, some sources cited it as being on Halloween. So I'm just going to go with Halloween. Okay. Either way, it's a trick-or-treat murder. So, Halloween of 1982, we are in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and 69-year-old Marvin Brandland, who was a World War II Army vet, who now owned a carpet cleaning business, and his wife of 46 years, Ethel, had spent the evening handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. At this point, it was later in the evening. I'm not sure specifically what time, but as you said, people go out at, like, early evening, like 5 o'clock onwards.
Yeah.
Either way, it was late enough that they had assumed most kids were done for the night and moving on to other things. And their granddaughter, Teresa, I'm not sure how old she was at this point. It sounds like she was, like, old enough to be, like... It sounds like she was probably a teen, at least. Anyway, she had been visiting for the evening and had not long left before there was another knock at the door. And when Ethel opened the door, she was not met with her granddaughter. She was not met with children in costumes with bags of candy. She wasn't even met with a pair of demon children with black eyes asking to use her telegraph.
What?
Instead, she was met by someone of adult stature, wearing a pillowcase over their head with holes cut out for the eyes.
That's weird.
And then this person said, "Please, ma'am, may I use your telegraph?"
Somehow I don't think that's what they said, but I like your commitment to that.
No, they actually said, "Trick or treat, give me money or I'll shoot."
Okay.
Now,
Fuck.
Ethel thought that this must just be like some silly joke. It's Halloween.
Oh.
It's kind of in the nature. She even thought, oh, it's likely a relative. Her granddaughter Teresa had like just left minutes before. Like, it's fitting. It could have been her, or it could have even been like her father here to pick her up or something. Being like, oh, let's play a trick on your grandparents.
Yeah.
So she was like, okay, who is this? And she tried to lift, like she playfully reached out for the pillowcase to like take it off his head, but the trick-or-treater held it down. And she still was thinking that this was just a silly joke, so she decided, oh, well, you know, let's just play along. I'll give you some candy, and then you'll be like, ha-ha, thanks, Grandma, and run away, or whatever, you know. Haha, joke's on you, it's just me. So she turned around and went to grab the bowl of candy, because like I said, they kind of assumed that the kids were done. They probably put it in another room, or even it was like just on, like it was their foyer and they were like reaching to grab it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, she turned around and went for the candy, and in the process of her doing so, the hooded trick-or-treater followed her inside. And by the time she realized as much, there was a gun being pointed at her.
Aww.
So when they initially said, trick or treat, give me your money or I'll shoot, it was just a figure in a hood, like in a pillowcase with eyes cut out. Then they've stepped inside, and while her back is turned, they've gone, ka-chow, here's a gun. She's turned around, Marvin's in the room, and there's a gun being pointed at both of them. So, at this point, the trick-or-treater is pointing the gun at them and orders them to take him to the safe in the basement. I'm going to stick with him because they've heard his voice. They can determine it's a he.
Okay.
The Brandlins weren't exactly a wealthy couple. Definitely not wealthy enough to be targeted for a robbery like this. At least, from what I could read. And they did have a safe in the basement, but it didn't really hold a lot. And it also wasn't exactly public knowledge.
Yeah,
In fact...
What do they know about that?
Yeah, in fact, few even knew of its existence, and the few that did were like family members and maybe a close friend or two. So I wasn't really surprised to see the speculation. Like every report basically said that this fact actually made them just more convinced it was just a family member playing a silly Halloween prank on them. Like they really weren't taking it very seriously. So it sounds like they didn't really grasp the serious reality of the situation they were in, because this person, oh, well, they know something that they shouldn't know.
Yeah, like, surely it's someone we know.
Yeah, it's just Bob from accounting. I let slip
That
once
cheeky
that we
fucker.
had a safe in the basement, and now he's like, oh, take me down there, ha ha ha. He's gonna just remove the pillow at some point and be like, got you, let's have a beer.
Ha
That's
ha.
what people do, right?
Nice.
So, Yeah, they're not really quite grasping the situation that they're in. So the trick-or-treater continued to point the gun at the couple and have them lead him through the house towards the basement. But as they reached the kitchen, Marvin had had enough of the joke. Like, he didn't want to play along anymore. In fact, why did I move away? In fact, he refused to do so. I'm just going to stop talking to Paul. So, yeah, Marvin had refused to go along with it any longer, and he made a grab for the gun. I'm not sure how this part went down exactly, whether it was an accident in the struggle or what, but ultimately, the trick-or-treater shot Marvin in the throat before ripping off the pillowcase, dropping it to the floor, and fleeing the couple's home.
Why the fuck would you bother taking off your disguise?
That was my thought. I was like, some reports were like, or some stuff that I read was like, maybe he did so in shock or disbelief that it had come to that. Like, if it was an accidental pull of the trigger, just kind of a, holy shit, did that really happen?
Yeah.
And then dropped it and ran in shock or disbelief. But I still am like, if you've gone to all this effort to hide your identity, wouldn't you wait until you're, like, out of sight to remove it?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But yes, so he did that. Marvin was rushed to Trinity Regional Hospital, and he was then airlifted to a hospital in Des Moines, where he died on the operating table in the early hours of the morning.
Aww.
Their granddaughter, Teresa, recounts receiving the news. You go numb. And I had to take my grandmother back to the house to get medicines, and you walk in and you're just in disbelief that it's happening till you see the blood, and then you know it's real.
Oh, God, Jesus.
Another quote from Teresa. I'd just told her, I'll see you later. And I almost went back into the house to tell her not to answer the door after 7:30 because, you know, that's what they said. And it haunts me to this day that I didn't.
Oh, no.
Right? I heard her say that. I watched her, the interview where she said that, and I was like, oh, my heart.
That's so fucking...
Now, spoiler alert.
Yes.
The fact that I'm covering this case means that the killer wasn't found.
Sad times.
And 40 years later, in 2022, it's still unsolved.
Jesus.
So, in the months to follow, with the killer still unidentified and remaining free, the trauma of not only losing her husband of 46 years, but also watching it happen in such a horrific way, the loss of her love, and the loneliness all kind of took their toll on Ethel. And on Thanksgiving Day, she broke down and just a few months later passed away. So her daughter Jan recalls... Yeah. Her daughter Jan recalls she was eating and she just quit eating. And she broke down and she cried and cried and cried. And, you know, I'll never forget when they carried her out in her chair. We always say she died of a broken heart because she didn't want to be all by herself.
Oh my God, Jeremy, you're trying to make me cry. It's fucking depressing as shit.
I'm not. I'm sorry. But it's like, it's just a factor of the story. I'm sorry. I've got one paragraph left. And it's got nothing to do with that.
So this incredibly sad.
No, it has to. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the sadness that she also passed away. But that's I couldn't talk about this story without mentioning that this person's kind of taken both lives.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Like, yes, they pulled the trigger and took the first one, but I would argue that they're responsible for the loss of the second life too.
No, that's true. I would as well.
Now, so I know I did, like, literally just tell you that they never found the killer, and that the case is unsolved, but there is actually one disturbing factor that I haven't shared yet. The family is certain they know who the trick-or-treater was.
Oh. What?
And it's an acquaintance of the family. So, remember, he removed the pillowcase before fleeing. So, Ethel saw his face. And immediately following the shooting, when taking her statement, Ethel told the police that he was between 16 and 20 years old. He stood about 5 feet... Mm-hmm. He stood about 5 feet 8 inches tall and had blondish hair and blue eyes. Not only that, but in the years to come, a family acquaintance matching this description reportedly bragged about having committed the murder. Strange thing to brag about, but okay.
Fuck? Why would you? I don't understand those killers that brag about their kill. I'm like, are you trying to get caught? Like, is that your goal here, babe? Because that's what's gonna happen when you brag. But also, yuck. Why are you...
It is the weirdest flex. Like,
I
hey,
was literally about to say weirdest
for
flex.
the past
hey,
10 years, I've gotten away with this thing, and I'm really proud of that. You know what will help me continue to do so? Telling a bunch of people that I did it, and I haven't been caught for it yet.
Oh my god, I'm so great, I've never been caught, and it's like, and then you just ruined it. Like, you were doing great. Like, I was very proud of you.
Yeah.
And then you
It's
ruined
like
it.
when
You're so stupid.
it's like the cockiness kicks in, or even, like, the people that, like, toy with the police, like sending them riddles or letters or whatever, like that they're almost begging to be caught.
Yeah.
Which I also don't understand.
Like,
understand that.
So dumb. Yeah.
Anyway.
Either, but I mean, these people murder people, so I don't really get a lot about them.
Also that. In an interview in 2010, police actually confirmed that this person, whose name hasn't actually been released, so I'm not just being vague for the sake of being vague.
Okay.
It's literally just known that it's a family acquaintance that matches that description. So to them, that makes sense, but as far as the public's concerned, and anyone could be an acquaintance.
Yeah, literally there.
But yeah, the police confirmed that this person, whose name hasn't been released, is the prime suspect, but that there simply wasn't enough evidence to make an arrest. And you're probably thinking,
it's kind of sucky.
But Jeremy, he left a pillowcase behind. You just told us about that. That's plenty of evidence, isn't it?
DNA in it.
And that thought is not unwarranted. It's a valid question. So the government, the authorities, the police people, I don't know, the investigators, that's the word I was looking for, there we go. They also had that same thought. And also in 2010, that pillowcase was actually tested for DNA. But, unfortunately, there was not enough material for an adequate DNA test. So, there was not enough DNA material for a test. Maybe in the future as technology advances, but I think...
Even then...
As awful as this sounds to say, this already happened 40 years ago almost. Like, we're a week away from it being 40 years on the dot.
Like, you have more important
The more
cases.
years that go past, it kind of... Yeah.
Like, not disregarding those cases, but we...
In 20 years' time, we may have the technology to test that DNA, but in 20 years' time, that the person that committed the crime is also probably dead, if not nearly there.
Yeah, and same with, like, family
If they were
members.
16 to 20 at the time and it was 40 years ago, then they're already 56 to 60. Another 20 years puts them at 80. Life expectancy isn't really that long. Anyway, that's my case.
I can't believe they all think it's someone, but they just don't have the evidence. Like, I think those are the cases that, like, kind of break your heart a bit. Because it's like, someone knows who it is, but you can't do anything. Because there's... So, guys, first things first, happy Halloween, however you do or don't celebrate it. Ka-chow. If you're in America, I'm a little bit jealous because it looks really fun over there. I don't really know about it.
We're going to have a lot of fun with our
No,
speakover.
I'm not saying we're not going to have
talking
fun. I just mean, I don't know, they just seem to go, like, wow. I'm very excited for my costume.
I'm excited for mine as well. I just have to finish making it.
I also have to finish making mine. I have to start making mine because I forgot to go to Coles today. But that, actually I did go to Coles, I just forgot to buy it. Beside the point. So, in saying that, we would like to thank you for letting us, take up some space rent-free in your heads, because I don't have any extra money, and I don't think Jeremy does either, so appreciate that. But if you want to try and take up some space in our heads, you can send us an electronic letter at rfimhpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at rfimhpodcast, or if you want to stalk us individually on Instagram, Jeremy's is at
Jeremy Gage, and Kirsten's is
at Sir Kirsty Lee. Pretty much all of our other social media platforms, including Facebook and YouTube. We even have a TikTok where we haven't posted anything, but I have an idea we should do this weekend for that.
Okay.
It's just Rent Free in My Head podcast. So just give us a search and you'll find us, and then you can annoy us with silly facts or ask me for pictures of my nails because they're really fucking cute. They have little pumpkins on them.
Or suggest, like, cases, or stop flipping me off, you bitch.
Just compliment me on my nails. But yeah, that's where you can find us, and I'm gonna go have a shower because I smell.
That is fair. I was about to comment on that. I can smell you from here.
Damn, you can smell me like a whole suburb away?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's
it's probably more than one
right,
suburb.
mate.
It's like 2 suburbs.
It's about 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. Alright.
You're pretty right, mate.
In that case, here we go.
Alright, well,
go.
don't be an otter, be a squatter.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed your tricks and your treats.